Today we'll be setting up spawning on splines. That way we no longer have to have cars start somewhere else. And not only will they spawn on the splines, they'll be kind of evenly distributed based on the length of the splines, and the intersections, of course, will still continue to work. As you see here, green light, they're going, these guys are stopping, waiting for the next light to turn green, and as soon as it does, the next cars will go, and everything will be all good. And there's a slight little fix / update to something to kind of streamline it even more. It's a very small thing, but we're very close to actually being able to put all of this into our City Gen series and kind of combine it all potentially next time. So with that, let me show you how to set this up. Here we are in the project as it was, right? We were having to spawn the cars back here. They would have to detect the actual path and then get onto the track and go from there. But of course, we want to spawn things on the track. So let's go ahead and start setting that up. For that, we'll effectively have a traffic manager that is kind of spawning all of these cars. For the time being, the cars are still going to hold the logic, but this actor will just spawn them. Down the line, we can make it so that is the thing that also controls the movement and everything of the cars as well. But for now, we're just taking it one step at a time. So let's get started with it by going to the content browser, right-clicking, new blueprint class of a type actor, and I'm just going to call it BP_traffic spawner. And let's go ahead and immediately grab it, drag it out into the world, and just place it somewhere around here. I will also go ahead and select all of the cars and get rid of them. So with all of them selected, I'll go ahead and press delete and get rid of them in the world. We'll be spawning them in the world, so there's no reason to have any of them manually placed. But just so you know, you can manually place them still. It's not like it's one or the other. Because when you manually place them, as we were doing before, make sure that it's within range of a spline they can start going to. Now let's go ahead and open up the traffic spawner. So a few things I want to do right away. The first is adding a billboard. A billboard component is just there so we can see it from a distance. Because by default, right now, it's hard to see. You can see here, there's the billboard, but it's also very small. If we want to select it from a distance, we need that bit bigger. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I've never had this is screen size related thing work for anything. I can set this to be screen size 1000. Is screen size scale turned on, compile it, and in here, it's the same size. It has never changed ever. So this is more of a question for you guys. Am I doing something wrong here? But I've never been able to have it be screen size, despite this clearly saying is screen size scaled. And you can see here, as we changed it from the small value, it did get bigger up to a point, right? But yeah, I'm not sure. But since we do want it still bigger, I will use the absolute scale here. I'll scale it to be like 5 times bigger. There we go. So this is just easier to see now in the world. And we're going to need a few variables here. The first variable is, of course, number of cars. We need to know how many cars there are. It'd be of type integer, and we'll make sure that the eye icon is turned on because we want it to be exposed. The second variable is going to be the spacing between cars, because we might want to spawn them a little bit further apart or closer together. It really depends on the size of your cars, so this is the thing that you might want to control that with. So we'll make this of a type float, also exposed. And the last thing that I want to get here is the total length of roads. I want to know what is the total distance all of these roads go, because I want to spawn more cars on the roads that are longer and less cars in the ones that are shorter. Because of this, it's also not going to be a perfect number of cars equals how many get spawned. There'll be some rounding there. So it might be a little bit less, a little bit more. But at least for me, I don't need it to be an exact science of getting exactly 100 cars every time. So for this, I think it's fine. Also, the total length of roads is a float. With everything here put in, we're going to compile it. And now let's select a number of cars. And I'll give it a default here of like 20 cars. That'll be our default. And then spacing between cars, I'll give it a default value of 1000. Now this traffic system currently does not know all of these splines, so we need to get them. In the future, we're going to have something spawn the splines, which is going to be this actor effectively. So it will automatically know all of the things that have spawned in the world. So we won't need to get them all. But for now, since it's not spawning the splines yet, this is how we do it. In the construction script is where we'll do it. So that way we don't need to wait for begin play. I want to get all of the splines. So I'm going to drag out and do get all actors of class. And the class that we want to grab is the road spline. I don't want to actually spawn anything on the intersections. So we'll just use BP road spline. And because the intersection 1 is a child of the road spline, it will automatically grab it here as well. So when we have all of these, I'll just do a simple for each loop. And I'm going to check that it's not that intersection one. So I'm going to do not equals. So as long as the actor that it is not equal to the road spline intersection, then we go ahead and continue. If it is the road spline intersection, then don't worry about it. I don't want to spawn any cars there. But assuming that's all good, this is the road spline. I want to get the length of the spline. Now, fun fact, I was doing get distance along spline at spline point for the last spline point here. But what we can actually do is get the spline first, all the way down to the bottom, just get spline of the variables, and then just drag out and get length, get spline length. Because it's called length and not distance, which every other thing we were using is called, my brain didn't click that, oh yeah, I could just grab get spline length if I need to know the full distance of the spline. It is the same thing. But here we have the spline length, and all I'm going to do is take the total length of the roads and add the spline length to it. So add it over here, and set it back to the total length of the roads under true here. Now, to make sure that this starts at 0 always, at the very beginning before this loop, I'll just go ahead and make sure I'm resetting the total length of roads. So basically now we have effectively calculated the total length once it finishes this loop. Now we will need access to these variables because we'll need to grab those in our actual splines. So let's set that up. We need a function for that. I'll just call it get spawning info. And all this is going to do is just return some variables. So we'll just drag ourselves a return node. And now all we need to do is just grab our variables. You can hold control to get the get version of it. So we'll grab all of these. And now you just click and drag them right into the return node, and it'll automatically add to the return node variables. And just for myself, just because I'm curious, on the event graph, we'll go ahead and add a check to see how many cars we've spawned. So we'll just do a simple delay here. Just wait a moment for them to spawn. And then once again, get all actors of class. We'll search for car base, and then we'll just get the length of this array and do a simple print string with that value. I'll just set it to be something like yellow and last for 5 seconds. So we can know that this is this one. This is not required. This is just so we can see how many cars are actually being spawned, because it will never be an exact number to what you specified, as you'll see shortly. So cool, this is doing its thing, that's all great. So how do we actually spawn the cars? Well, the car spawning isn't happening on the spawner technically. It's more so controlling the logic that the splines already in the world are going to have to spawn the cars themselves. So what we're going to do is just select one of these splines and press Control E, or just open it up in the content browser here. And this is where we're actually going to be doing the spawning. So again, we only need the begin place. That's what we're going to keep here. And now I need a reference to this guy, to the spawner. Each one of these needs to know about it. Again, down the line, we will have that spawner spawn the actual path, so it'll automatically have a reference to it. Right now they don't. So for the time being, we just do get actor of class. We only need the singular actor. There's not going to be multiple. So get actor of class of the type BP traffic spawner. And once we have that, we can use the function that we just created to get the spawning info, which will get us the variables here. So now we need to know how many cars are spawning on each track. So we know the total length of the road, and we can get the current length of our road. So we'll just grab the spline, drag it out, and then get spline length. I'm going to divide the spline length of our current spline by the total length of all the roads. So basically, as a proportion of all of the roads, how long is this one? Because then we can go ahead and just multiply it by the number of cars to get us how many cars proportionally on this road should there be compared to all of the cars on all of the roads. Because of this rounding, that's why you're not going to get the exact number. It's possible to add an extra step here to like fill in the minimum or remove it goes way over. I just don't see a reason to here, because at least the way I see it, the exact number of cars is not that important here. So once we have this, I'm just going to round this value. So we get an integer, and then we can just drag out and do a for loop. We want a regular for loop. We don't want a for each, regular for. And we're going to start at index 1, and the last index will be this rounded one. Because if there's 0, it'll just automatically complete. And if there's 1, it will only do it once because it'll be 1 and 1. So the loop body would only execute once. So once we have this loop, off the loop body, we can just do a spawn actor from class, and we want to spawn the BP car base. Now the location needs to be the location along the spline. So we'll go ahead and grab the spline, and then we'll do a get transform at distance along spline, because we're right now going off of a distance by just grabbing the index of this loop and then multiplying it by the spacing between the cars. Now we are starting at index 1. So that means it will not start at the very start start of the actual loop. So you're fine with it being on the very start of the actual spline. We just do a subtract here and subtract 1. And now it will start at the very beginning of the spline and then continue on. So using this distance, go ahead and get us the transforms, which need to be in world space as always. So once we have that, we can just plug that into the spawn transform here, and the car will be spawned there with the correct rotation and location. So if we wanted to, we can already test this out by just coming here and pressing simulate, and we'll see a few issues pretty much right away. Namely, they're not following the spline. Oh, some of them are. That one didn't. The other ones didn't. What's going on? Well, we're not assigning the splines to them. If I was to set this to 50 now and simulate, you'll see, oh, it looks like, oh, no, they're not on the spline at all. They're definitely not on the spline at all. Once they get onto a spline, it's fine, but yeah, we have issues. What's going on? The reason this is happening is because just because we're spawning them doesn't mean we're assigning the spline that they're on yet. So all we need to do is, on spawning them, tell them what spline they're on and where along the spline they are. So let's go back into the blueprint car base, and here under spline, current distance along spline, we need to expose this. So with it selected, in the detail panel, turn on instance editable and turn on expose on spawn. This will allow us to override it when it gets spawned in. Now I also want to do that on the spline components. So under components, select the current follow spline, and same thing, instance editable on, expose on spawn on. When you go ahead and compile this and return here, all you need to do is right click and hit refresh nodes. And immediately you'll see there's the current follow spline as input and the current distance along spline as input. So all we need to do is take the spline, plug that into the current follow spline, and then this distance that we're plugging into this get transform is what also gets plugged into the current distance along spline. So just like so. And now if we go ahead and take a look, again, simulate, we should see that every single car is now on the splines exactly where they're supposed to be. And they're following along and everything looks pretty good. And by the way, occasionally you'll still get this. And I figured out why this happens, why it starts getting a little close sometimes. And turns out it's a very simple fix. This is just happening because the current frame rate of the car is different than the car ahead of it. Or you're thinking of the car ahead of it, it has a different frame rate as the car behind, so they're updating at different intervals. So because it effectively could be getting further away on one frame and closer on another, it gets confused. So the easy solution is to just have it be matching the frame rate of a car it caught up to. And then everything is smooth. And to do that, it's very simple, actually. All we'll do is just detach the current frame rate here, and then I'll just grab it from this actual location, get current frame rate. So that way, it's just not plugged in directly here. And then I can just go ahead and move this a little bit to the side and add ourselves a new custom event. And the custom event will just be called drive at frame rate. And when we want to drive at the frame rate, we need to know what the frame rate is. So from there, we're going to be setting the current frame rate at the specified one. So you just grab this and just drag it into here, and it will give us this input. But only do this, actually, if our current frame rate doesn't match. So let's grab our current frame rate, copy it here, and check. Hey, if these are not equal, then go ahead and continue on to set our current frame rate to be the one that we just got. Okay, so the current frame rate will be set, but that doesn't mean that this restarts. So now let's go ahead and restart this timer. So we'll grab the drive forward timer. So get drive forward timer. We're going to clear it. So that way we basically stop it, and then we will restart it just like so. So effectively we're restarting specifically the drive forward. We don't need to worry about the trace for car or anything like that. That's going to continue going at its own timer. There's no reason to stop those. We just adjust the current frame rate. Instead of being calculated, we're grabbing the one from the car ahead and then restarting the timer. Now we just need to call this drive at frame rate, and we do that on the trace for car. So over here, when we have found there's a car ahead of us, so we say, yes, we have hit a car ahead, we just drag out of this cast and do our custom event, drive at frame rate, just like so. I'll just kind of clean this up a little bit. And now we need to get the current frame rate. So from the BP car base, get current frame rate, and we just plug that all the way through. So when there's a car ahead, let's match its frame rate. And it will only do so when it doesn't match. So we'll only do this once, and then it'll just check, hey, is it correct? If it is, ignore the rest. Don't restart this. Just match it once. And if you go ahead and simulate, we'll see all the cars are on the rows before. And by the way, we'll fix this in a in a second, you will see that all of these are now moving a lot better and a lot more evenly spaced, as they should be, considering their speed is all the same. So they should maintain a good consistent distance, and they finally do. You can see here they slow down just fine, as they have always done. Only thing is, it seems like the intersections isn't going. I'm not sure what causes that, I'll be honest, because if you open up the intersection and you just add a print string here, hit compile, you will see that all of that is working well. And you can get rid of the print string. It's like it has forgotten to actually do the begin play for some reason. If I get rid of it, you'll see that, yep, there it goes, still working as fine. Let's go ahead and fix this, by the way. Let's get rid of the cars on the intersections because we don't want those. The reason that happens, by the way, is because the intersection splines are child of the road splines. So all we need to do is open the road spline intersection, and all we need to do is just say, hey, don't do anything on begin play from the parent. So I've just gone ahead and deleted the begin play parent one. And let's do any kind of node here, it doesn't matter. What we want to see here is basically this bright and in focus and no parent to it. If you ever want to get back that functionality, just right click, add call to parent function, and this basically, like this, basically does whatever is here and whatever's on the parent. In the parent being here, right? This begin play, all of this is that function effectively. So we don't want to do that on the intersections. So we go ahead and override it like so. And now if we simulate, we can see that, hey, all the cars are now here. Intersection is going. We have no more cars spawning there. There was a green light for those cars, so they went. Next green light. And these ones are all coming along at a nice steady rate. There you go, green light here. Let's see if these guys make it to the intersection. Yep, that one made it through. And the next ones go ahead and stop, just like so. Okay, that looks very smooth and is working really well. I do think that most of the problems were because of not the same frame rate. Well, now I know, and hopefully you do too. The main thing here though is we now have spawning cars. So the next thing to do is to set up spawning of the actual paths. But for that, I'm going to want to bring that over into the actual City Gen series so we can go ahead and start using the actual roads because we had those already set up before. So we'll be combining it all next time, and hopefully you'll join me for that. In the meantime though, the project files for this will be available on my Patreon, where you can join these wonderful people here in supporting what I do. It really means a lot. And if you'd like to join the community, the link to the Discord and everything is down in the description below as always. And the topic of spawning things with actors and sending variables through, I recommend checking out this video to find out that there's actually a way of sending variables to and from BCG, although it's not ideal.